Hey everybody, this is Paintball Dad. Thanks for tuning into my channel. Today I want to talk about why I think the snake or the one or front position, however you call it, is the easiest position to learn in paintball. Now I know this sounds like a pretty hot take, but let me just explain. I don't mean this to be interpreted in any way like I'm saying that the snake player is not an integral role to any paintball team, or that any front player or one is not super important to their team winning. I've been playing paintball for about 18 years now, and it's been a mix of recreational and tournament play. And I've actually only ever played one position, the one or the front or the snake, however you want to call it. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I've always been in pretty good shape, so it's usually easy for me to run down the field pretty quickly. And number two, I like playing aggressively. So put these two together, and any coach or any captain that I've ever had on a paintball team has always just felt comfortable throwing me in as a one or immediately going into the snake. It just made sense. Now recently I had a scary situation where I had to undergo a minor but painful medical procedure. And it got me to thinking while I was recovering in this last week, I was not able to do any kind of strenuous exercise, and I couldn't walk past like a very slow turtle pace. So it got me thinking, well, what would I do when the inevitable day comes that I eventually can no longer play the snake or the one on a paintball field? And that thought actually scared me because I don't know how to play any other position. I've never actually had to go, and especially for a tournament, I've never had to actually be the consistent two or the mid or the back player for an entire tournament series. And so one of the first thoughts that popped into my head was, well, I would need to be a very good gunfighter if I'm going to be a 2 or a 3, because those guys have to be the ones that are throwing down paint the entire time, giving good support and keeping the other team suppressed. And the funny thing is that being a one, I've actually been able to avoid sharpening my gunfighting skills, as funny as that sounds, because I can always use my aggression and my speed to make up for what I lack in gunfighting. And so this throws me into the first reason why I think being the snake player or the one is the easiest position to learn in paintball, because it is the one position where you don't necessarily have to have the highest skill in paintball. You can rely a lot on physical fitness for this position. Getting to your first bunker is usually the most difficult thing to do, and it's the most important thing as far as the team's strategy. But if you're fast and if you're good at staying low, then you can 99% of the time make it to that bunker. That in itself is not specifically a paintball skill. That's just being able to run fast and run low. Whenever I've been on a team and we talk about our beginning strategy, our strategy out of the break on the game, my job is always very simple. It's always the same. I go to the snake. That's all I have to do. It makes it so much less stressful because I don't have to worry about the same stuff that all the other guys on the team have to worry about. Sometimes I actually get confused just listening to all the things they're talking about. I hear some of the guys talking, okay, I gotta delay here first, shoot this lane that way, then wait until I see an opening to move to my first bunker, then I'm gonna be shooting this way, and I gotta make sure I communicate if I see a player move into that key bunker on the other side of the field. Like, a lot of it tends to go over my head, I'll be quite honest. Which brings me to my second point of why I think this is the easiest position to learn in paintball, is because this is the position that probably has the least amount of responsibility throughout the game. Now again, I want to be clear, the one or the snake player is a very crucial player in any team's strategy. In fact, he is so crucial that a lot of times all he has to do is just stay alive. And so that's why I say this is the position with the least amount of responsibility. There have been games where I can just get to my bunker, ideally the snake, and stay alive, and I don't even have to kill anybody. But as long as I'm there, alive, causing a distraction for the other team, the rest of my team has the opportunity to maneuver up the field and make kills while I'm distracting the other team. And there's also been a lot of games where I don't even have to communicate a whole lot, because if I'm in the snake and I'm doing my job right, I'll make a quick kill here or there, and then the other team might not even know where I'm at right away. And as long as they don't know where I'm at, then it's my job to just keep quiet. As a snake player, you want to be aware of whether or not the other team knows where you are. If they do know where you are, then that's your cue to start talking to your teammates. Let them know what you see on the field and where you're taking shots from. But if you go back to the first point that I said, that all you need is really just athleticism, if you're athletic enough that you can maneuver down the field faster than what they're expecting, then they're not going to know where you are right away. And so you should have a good while where you can actually just be quiet, pop up for a second, make a kill, maybe 2 kills, and then go back down. But that in itself is something that also takes a lot of stress off of my shoulders, is knowing that I don't necessarily need to communicate a whole lot during a game. I do need to listen though. That is something that you do need to be able to do as a one or a snake player. You got to be able to listen to your other teams, because if they tell you where somebody is on the field, then you need to be able to adjust and pop out immediately aiming at that position so you can make a quick kill. And because a position like the snake is so well protected, that usually means that you don't have to worry too much about the other guys on the field that are shooting at you. Really, the only threat that can potentially take you out is another snake player. And so that's why you do have to listen to your teammates. If they tell you that there's another player in the snake, you have to keep aware of where exactly in the snake that other player is and decide when is the right time to take him out. Now, as far as what it does take to be a good snake player, I would say the next thing after athleticism is just having somebody who can be able to think quickly on their feet. And unfortunately, that's not something that you can teach very easily. You can't really teach someone how to do that. Maybe you can force them to get enough experience that they'll eventually be able to slow the game down in their head and be able to process the information going on around them more quickly. But it's not as easy to teach someone to be a quick thinker or a quick reactor as easy as it will be to, teach somebody how to snap shoot or teach somebody how to be faster just by getting them to exercise more. But you definitely want somebody who has that ability to think quickly on their feet as your one or as your snake player, because they will need to adjust to quickly changing dynamics at a very fast pace. An example of this is how I said earlier that the snake player or the one needs to be aware of when it's safe and when it's not safe to communicate. Another thing a snake player or a one needs to be able to do is to know how not to make dumb moves. For example, there's plenty of times when as a snake player, I might take on a lot of heat because I am causing that distraction for the other team. I need to be able to kind of listen and understand what it sounds like when there's 1 gun shooting at my bunker versus 3 guns. And if I feel like there's too many guns shooting at my bunker or too many paintballs flying past my bunker, I need to be able to tell myself, all right, I should not pop out right now. I should just lay low and yell for my team, hey, I'm taking too much heat. They're coming from this direction, that direction. At least some kind of a general communication if I don't know the exact bunker that they're shooting from. And then keep listening for when the heat dies down so that I'll know when it's safe for me to pop out and move. And now I should mention, a really cool thing about being a snake player or a one is that you will immediately give yourself value to any team that's looking for a new player. Because ultimately, everybody needs to know how to be a one. Everybody needs to know how to fill in the position of one in case the one gets killed out early. I actually first heard this from a YouTube channel titled SVP Paintball, and he's got a video where he describes the roles of the back player, or the 3. And the roles have changed a lot over time. Back when I first started playing in the early 2000s, the role of the back player was basically just to be an anchor, to stay alive, and the objective was to make sure that the team doesn't lose. Now, the objective has changed. The objective is now to win. So the back player no longer stays in the back. The back player now has to know how to fill in the roles of the 2s and even the 1s. So once we acknowledge that, you kind of realize that, yeah, the back player or the 3 really should be the most skilled player on the team. The 1, therefore, can actually be the lesser skilled player, even though the role that the 1 plays is super important and arguably is going to be the player who wins the points. So a team can never have enough snake players or 1s. So I hope I made sense in this video. I don't mean to say by any means that being a 1 or a snake player is an easy job, but it is the easiest to learn because of the reasons that I said. You can rely heavily on physical athleticism rather than raw paintball skill, and it's the position with the least amount of responsibility because you're mostly just responsible for your own self, your own position. You don't have to learn the positions of the 2s and the 3s, but the 2s and the 3s do have to learn your position as the 1. But feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you think, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video.